Hello, friends. Welcome to Escambia Citizens Watch Live. I'm John Singley, your host, and with me today is an old friend of ours here, Kevin Adams, District 1 school board member from Escambia County, and also their legislative representative. How are you, Kevin?
I'm doing fine. I'm glad to get the invite. Thank you.
For those of you who don't know Kevin, he has been with us before. He and Rob Doss appeared with us on our Walking Dangerously pedestrian series. He had a great presentation about sidewalks to nowhere, and we're going to follow up today with a series of three shows that will look at the 2019 recently concluded Florida State Legislature. And Kevin is going to talk to us about education issues. We had Christian Wagley in a little earlier talking about the environment, and later this week we'll have a representative from the League of Women Voters are going to come in and talk about their legislative priorities and how the legislature did. So Kevin, you were telling me before we started it was a good year for Escambia County education at the legislature.
I think so. When you compare to when we got to 67 cents per student last year, this year we actually got $75 per student, base student allocation. That is a lot better than it was last year. Yeah. Okay, so we got $242.60 per student for the FEFP, so that was much bigger. So the budget this year, it's got more money in it, and some of it, some of the complaints is some of it's in categoricals, like safe school funding and stuff like that. But overall, I think we did fairly well. I'm looking forward to the next new session coming up where we're going to go about it, and it's an earlier session. It's going to start in January.
How do you think, what accounts for this big increase in the education budget? Is it coincidental that former Speaker Corcoran is now the Commissioner of Education? Or is it the governor's emphasis on it?
Well, I think there's a couple things. You get to look at the teacher shortage we had and those items like that. I think in some ways the state had to react to some of this because right now we got a historical low unemployment rate that's impacting anything from bus drivers to teachers to whatever. So you can only squeeze public education.
So teachers are leaving teaching and going into other jobs.
They can get sometimes better, higher salary. So we were able to push up the salaries. We pushed up the salaries for the bus drivers, but also we did start lobbying way early in the process. February or so. I think I made 4 or 5 trips down to Tallahassee.
Oh, that must have been interesting. How were those trips? You and the lobbyists, everybody running around trying to tell your story with your representatives. How did that go?
Well, I think it went fairly well. I was pretty lost the first first trip down there, but I had a young lady named Billy Ann. She did a great job of leading me around the different places. Got to meet with the Commissioner of Education, Richard Corcoran, and we had almost a 30-minute meeting. We talked about teacher certification problems and issues like that. So went well, I think, for us. As you know, we just passed a Guardian program here in Escambia County. We've had about 75 applicants for that.
Now that was part of the budget, right?
That's part of the budget. Yes.
Right.
So
tell us about the Guardian program.
Well, the Guardian program, what we're going to do in Escambia County, we're going to use the superintendent is recommending to use guardians that are 100% full time.
Now this is the law. They called it the Safe Schools law. Is that right? They talk about arming teachers.
SB 7030.
Arming teachers.
Well, you can arm teachers if you wanted to, and I won't say just teachers. You could have administrators. And I'll give you an example. We have some very rural school districts, that may have a 25-minute response time on police officers getting there. So in those cases, I know one district, they got a school resource officer, and they also have guardians that could be a principal, administrator, athletic coach, if they can pass all of what's required.
So the legislature left it to each district to determine
local control on the issue. Local control. Right. And I'm a local control guy. I think Grover Robinson is too. I'm pretty big local control, and to me, that's the way it should be. Each school district, all 67 counties, are different in the state of Florida. So what might work for one may not work for the next one, and the state should leave it up to that local control. So we're going to go with 100 full-time guardians. and that'd be basically at the elementary school level or where we need fill-in at, because it's hard to get 100% coverage with law enforcement officers for the sheriff deputies. The sheriff's been having troubles himself trying to keep enough deputies full-time for his operation, and then getting enough to do 67 facilities for Escambia School District is a little tough. And then the charter schools, the public charter schools we have, they'll have an option of using these campus security guards underneath the guardians, because you got the public charters like Beulah Academy of Science and others. They'll be able to hire some of these people too, because they got the same requirements.
Why do you think the legislature set up a different criteria for charter schools and the guardians than the public schools? I mean,
They're the same.
Are they the same?
Yeah, they're the same. But the requirement's there to have a good guy with a gun at every school. So the public schools, they'll be able to use these campus securities. So superintendent's working through the sheriff Morgan. So they've got the applications out. They're hiring the guardians. So these public charter schools will be able to hire from that group we get. So, if you get 75 or 100, I don't know how many's going to pass the training. And
so the legislature this year, in the budget, they upped the amount of money per student to the school districts, and that'll help stem the tide of teacher shortages. That
we
should
hope,
help.
yes.
They also, on the Safe Schools, they're put money against the Guardians program. What else did the legislature do to help Escambia County schools?
And I want to say in that Safe School funding, there's also the hardening the facilities, where we're doing the central point accesses, and you're putting the video cameras in, and you're putting new fencing up, and so that safe school allocation covers a whole lot just to try to make these schools safe for these kids. And then but what the base student allocation does, that's the flexible money. That's not the categorical funding that we could actually spend on teacher raises and different stuff. So, hey, we would like to have more, but like I said, when we got 67 cents per student last year, and now we got $75 per base student allocation, it is better.
Much better.
Much better. So, but the Florida School Board Association, our platform that we lobbied on, we pretty well won just about on every one of them. We might not got everything we wanted. I know with the teachers, I had someone contact me on the best and brightest, where they didn't like how the state was looking back at what they may have scored on an ACT 20 years ago.
Kevin, for the benefit of our viewers out there today who aren't up to speed on Best and Brightest, how about give us the Cliff Notes version of that, and then we'll talk about what the legislature did for it.
Well, Best and Brightest is a bonus program for the teachers, okay? Yeah. So the state comes up with the guidelines on how we would measure teachers, whether they're highly effective and they were able to qualify for the bonus, okay? What a lot of the educators were upset last year was that they were using those ACT scores, okay? And what the state did this time, they dropped it. You don't have to have those ACT, SAT scores. But now they have a little bit of qualms about it again, because they're looking at the school, whether it has a 3% increase in performance and stuff like that. Now what it appears, and what our superintendent said, is that this will broaden the amount of teachers that get bonuses. Okay, so last year some teachers got a pretty high bonus because it's being spread amongst more teachers, be a little less. But what we'll do is we'll talk to the educators again. We'll see what we need to do. And I think the process with Tallahassee, you go down there and get little wins every year, and if something, you go back again and look at it again. So
being down there, you made 5 trips this session. I guess being down there gives new meaning to the old saying, showing up is half the battle.
Yes. You guys, when they call you by your first name, then you've been there enough. So
what are some of the things that you may have fallen short on this year that you'd like to keep working at?
Well, trying to think of which one it'd be, because almost every one of them, you wish you did better. Right. And we got the end of the course exams, which caused that problem with late report cards, and it's 30% of a student's grade. That's something next year that we might go after. We're going to be looking at developing another platform with our local issues, which right now would be that. If you go to a private school, you don't have to worry about these end of the year exams counting 30% of your grade that you're going to have to go apply for college.
Is this is this a money issue or is it a standards issue?
I think it's a
policy
you can have
issue.
the standards. It's just how they figure it in, and it delays a lot of the process of getting your report card and everything else. So that's something I would like to look in. If other people don't have to do it, why do our kids have to do it? Now they could take tests, but to calculate, you got a B student that's going to try to how they do the grading on it. It won't help them. It could hurt them.
Right.
Most colleges are looking at the GPA or the student's GPA, whether they come from Catholic high school or Escambia high school or whatever. So I think it's kind of an unfair advantage to have that on there. But I'm going to talk to my board members, and we'll see in the superintendent, because the superintendent belongs to the superintendent association, so they'll have their platform, and the Florida School Board Association will.
Kevin, I want to ask you a little bit about something we were watching during the middle of the session, House Bill 5. And I can't remember exactly the name of the bill, but in essence, it would require that for local option sales tax referendums, that a 2/3 majority would be needed to put it into effect instead of the current simple majority. How did that turn out?
Well,
because you had mentioned earlier to me that this could negatively impact the Escambia School District.
All 67 counties in the state of Florida.
Yeah, talk about that. How did that turn out?
And I'm going to give a shout out to Commissioner Robert Bender, because I was focused on educational bills or related bills, and Commissioner Bender called me because he's involved in the legislative side and said, "Hey, we got this issue." And granted, for Escambia County, our referendum's good for 8 years. I understand that, but somebody down the road is going to have to deal with this. And that bill, what it would do is make it where a local referendum had to pass by 2/3. Okay, so when you run for office, that's a tall order to get 2/3. 30% is probably going to vote against you either way you look at it. And if you looked at all the referendums in the state of Florida, almost all of them would have failed. Actually, our 1/2 cent sales tax referendum barely got 2/3. The county didn't.
Yeah.
So if you lost and we received 0 PECO dollars. This is construction dollars provided by the Tallahassee. We're getting 0 for school maintenance and school construction. No money.
You can't live like that.
All the money that was in PECO is going to charter schools. So we survive on this 1/2 cent penny to build the new schools, to put new roofs on the schools, to replace the chillers. And my question to the legislators down there when I met with them is, how would we replace the money? You can't say I'm a conservative, but I'm realistic. I know there's some things that cost money.
Yeah, so raising the threshold, I'm speculating because I don't know for sure, but clearly that's meant to discourage raising taxes.
I imagine, but you have to have it because when you got Tallahassee, it's not providing you the dollars, and then they're going to pass legislation to prevent you from getting the dollars. And you can imagine how devastating it'd be for the county if they lost their LOST funds.
Ooh.
This is, in my opinion, is where local control comes in. If the citizens of Escambia County decide to offer a 1/2 penny for the schools, that's the way it's been. And they also got involved in another tax bill, and I don't remember the bill number, for the millage, where now in future referendums on millage, it'll be shared with the charter schools. So
when you were down there in Tallahassee and you brought this issue up, what kind of reception did you get from our representatives?
Well, I got a good the issue we have is that if it's something sponsored by the leadership, almost everybody's
You mean the
line.
legislative leadership?
Legislative leadership. So that's the problem, is especially on the House side, to have the leeway to stand against leadership. Because I was in a
that's tough.
I was in a representative office in another county, in another part of the state of Florida, with another school board member, and he was telling us just how much he was not going to vote for that bill because of that 2/3 in there. And he had told leadership, but when it came down to it, he voted with it just for everybody else. And fortunately, on the Senate side, Senate's supposed to be a little bit more
A
measured,
little bit more deliberative.
a little bit
right.
more deliberative, and
Yeah.
I commend Senator Doug Broxton and the rest of the senators, because some of the really crazy stuff on the House side died on the House side, and that's good, and it made some of the good points the House had, bubble up.
Right.
And one of the problems we got with the on the House side, is the power is really down in South Florida. You got the bigger counties, you got the more representatives, and down there, if they get in a fight with Miami-Dade, then it could impact could impact us up here in Escambia County, and that's why I like local control. So some of these measures, I tell some people sometimes, I support local control, but that don't mean the mayor can make this a sanctuary city. You can't disobey federal law, you can't disobey state law.
Right.
That's not local control.
Kevin, I want to get back to this per student allocation increase in this year's budget. Do you think that's going to be able to allow Escambia County to hold the line on the property tax millage rates?
Well, I'm hoping, because to me, I know that people every day are trying to decide whether they buy medicine or pay the mortgage payment or a medical payment. So to me, you try to hold it down on the property tax. I like the sales tax because people come to the beach, whatever. Everybody shares
Right.
into that more. So I'm hoping that this does it. This does not mean that we got plenty of money, because it's going to be tight. So we have a fund flow. We have to watch that fund flow balance to make sure it's not decreasing too much. So, and that's where in the past we've done 5% cuts, to meet that targeted budget amount. So
One of the big stories to come out of education in the legislature this year was the vouchers.
yes,
I guess more money
Yes.
was appropriated for vouchers.
Well,
Talk about that a little
it's
bit.
another voucher program. I think it's 5 voucher programs now
Is that right?
that the state's done. Now, this is the first voucher program where they're actually using taxpayer dollars to go to a what I call voucher schools. Okay, it's a small amount. It's 18,000. It's gotten a lot of public.
You mean 18,000 vouchers? Students,
18,000
right.
students.
Yeah.
And it could be up to 70,000 with a family of 4. But and that goes along with the McKay and the Bullion. Remember the Bullion Scholarship? They've done several of these different scholarships. So and there's some people. I think we both saw something on Channel 3 where it was showing a big amount that we may lose. But I believe we can compete in Escambia County. So we've got some great educational programs.
The Florida
got-
Education Association recently said that the legislature's increase of 17,000 vouchers is a drop in the bucket because there's something like 45,000 low-income students on a waiting list.
Yeah.
What would you say to people who bring that up?
Well, I mean, that's something for Tallahassee. My job as a school board member in Escambia County is the 40,000 students I have and all, the 60-something schools we got. That's my job. If the state wants to run their own school board system, and handle that part, that's up to them. But so I'm worried about the kids we got and the employees we have, and so I'm going to lobby to make sure we got enough fund to educate our kids. And so, the problems you've got with some of the voucher schools, the Tampa Bay Times did a very good investigative reporting on it. There's not a whole lot of oversight. So when you put public dollars out there, you invite the good people that are doing things from their heart, but you also invite those that do it for the dollar. Okay? And
Well, I
that's where
think
you see
with New Point schools here in Escambia
had New
County,
Point.
we learned that oversight is
Yeah.
very important.
Very critical. So with our schools, a lot of that stuff can't happen because we have that oversight. And in my opinion, once they grow this to a certain amount of students, they've already got a lot of fraud and embezzlement going on with that system. It'd be pretty tough to get it very big. So I think we can compete against the voucher schools, the private schools, anybody's schools. So we'll keep doing what we can to draw in students to our schools.
The charter schools, how many charter schools do we have here in the county?
I think we only got about on the public charter
public
schools.
side,
I think
right.
it's like a 5-0.
And do you know, Kevin, what percentage of the students there are on vouchers?
The only thing I know is if we have.
Is that where
we
the
have-
voucher students are going? Are they going to the charter schools, or do we know the data on that? Are they going to other schools?
I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know exactly. I think we've got 385 McKay
Maybe one
scholarships
day
that are out there.
we'll get you
but,
back in here and we'll talk a little
yeah,
bit more about that.
We talk about it, but
yeah.
It's hard to tell how many would have gone to a private school in the first place. Whether they had a scholarship or not. So, but I still think they're going to run into some problems, Tallahassee. But sometimes sometimes when you ask for something, you may get what you exactly want, and I think without that proper oversight, and I just don't know how Tallahassee's going to figure out. But that's their job. I'm going to go down there and just hope we keep.
Do you know roughly about how many of those 17 or 18,000 will be allocated to us?
Well, that's what I was telling you. Like McKay
Yeah.
is only 385.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's spread across 67 counties. I don't know how many would it be for us. It could be 300, 400.
Was our delegation supportive of this program, or what kind of reception did this receive?
Well, I think it passed. I
yeah.
think it overwhelmingly passed by the delegation. It's something that I don't know. Sometimes you don't know if the citizens have really woke up to what actually just happened.
Right.
When you're actually giving taxpayer dollars out to go to a private school.
Or
So
what they
I don't
call
know.
the detractors call them for-profit schools. Is that is that a derogatory term, or?
Well, you got those schools like Beale Academy of Science. Okay, they doing it from the heart. Catholic, they're doing it from the heart there. But then you get those for-profit operators, and those are those big guys that come in. They'll set up a nonprofit. They got the for-profit operator that's over top of them, and they have not had a whole lot of good results on that. So, and that's where they can set up in a vacant grocery store at a mall and that kind of stuff. But it's a dilemma there. But I'm proud that with our public charter schools, they're doing well.
Yeah.
We oversee their financial reports, and
Kevin,
and they
we're
seem to do a good
in the
job.
remaining minutes we've got of this terrific discussion we're having today. I could go on and on and on.
Yes.
But let's talk for a minute. One of the programs that was a priority was prioritizing workforce education, and I hear that we do pretty good here in
We
this
do.
county.
We
what
do.
what would you say to our viewers about workforce education?
Well, we got 68 academies, career academies in the
Right.
school district right now. So and we're planning on. I think they're thinking about having 70 by next year, but we just got the approval from Triumph. So
Right.
some of those programs that we already had, where we're training people to get A&P license in aircraft or ST and stuff, this help us upsize a little bit. But we already got IT academies, culinary.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I had it when I was at Escambia High School. We didn't have any of this, but we're going to have the Second Chance facility moving into where West Florida is now next year. That's going to offer a
Yeah.
opportunity for some of our students that are not going to be on a college track to be able to learn plumbing, electrical, that kind of stuff. So we want to have students to be able to learn how to make a living.
And how did the legislature treat this priority of workforce
Oh,
education?
they did good. They allocated money. I mean, there's no doubt on all these. Those categorical funds, they came through this year and put some money to those categories. So they're emphasizing. I think you see our governor; he's emphasizing that workforce education. And
Gosh, Clevin, we're just about out of time. So much to talk about
Yes.
here, but I'm gonna go off the script here, the
Uh-oh.
legislature, for just a second, if I may be.
Okay.
Tell us about the search for the appointed school superintendent. How's that going?
It's going fine. We're in the planning and process. The planning part of it right now. So we're going to have a meeting tomorrow. We've hired the Florida
School
School
board
Board
meeting,
Association. Yeah. Well, we are special. It's a special meeting tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we've hired Florida School Board Association. So Andrew Messer will be there tomorrow. So they're starting all that planning. We're going to have to set up a timeline and exactly how we're going to do it and the whole. But the good news is that they already have appointed superintendents across the state. I just saw where Indian River,
Yeah.
they had their superintendent quit during the middle of the year or is going out. And I shouldn't say quit. He might have been terminated. I don't know, but
But he left anyway.
Whatever it is, he left. He's
Yeah.
leaving. But they had to go out and search, and they went for an interim search, and they got 48 applicants, in a short time order. And then they went through the selection process, got it down to 3, started doing the 2s and 1s on the ranking, and they've already selected a interim superintendent.
I think
So it moved pretty quick.
the issues over with the county administrator here in Escambia have people remembered now that the school board's going to have to go through the same thing.
We
and
are.
I think the county has, they hired a new administrator. Will be starting work there here pretty soon. But it wasn't without sort of the ups and downs of the application and the hiring process. And I think a lot of people now are going, oh my gosh, the school board's going to have to go through pretty much the same thing. So
Well, I hope it goes well. But anytime you try to get 5 elected officials to agree on anything, you got troubles. And John, one thing I wanted to mention is on the teacher certification, because it changes. And I forgot about this. We got 99 teachers that will be employed next year because of the changes that the legislators did. 99. So if it wasn't for these changes, they extend the time period, give alternate methods to gain certification, we would have had 99 teachers that would not be employed for the next
boy,
school year.
that is really good news. So the
there's
legislature,
a lot of good things that happen in the legislature.
right? That's a big
yeah.
deal. Not only are these 99 teachers, these are human beings with
Right.
families and mortgages and things who will continue to be employed, but they also the lives of the children that they impact.
Right, and these are teachers
It's
that
so
we would
important.
keep hired if
Right.
it wasn't for the state rules. So,
Kevin,
yes.
there's my list. I've just barely started on my list, but we're out of time. So
Okay.
we'll
Well, I
find
sure
another
appreciate it.
opportunity to get you to come back. So the bottom line is the state legislature, under the policy guidance of former Speaker Cochran and the governor, delivered the goods, I think, for the school districts, Escambia being one of them, and it was a good news year for education.
Well, it could have been far worse.
Right.
It could have been far
Kevin
worse.
Adams, our guest today, the school board District 1 representative and liaison to the state legislature for the board, and a friend of ours here at ECW Live. Kevin, thank you so much. Thank you
sir.
very much for all you do for not only the children but the schools in this county. I'm John Singley. Thank you for being with us today. Our next episode in the legislative wrap-up will be with the League of Women Voters, and that'll be coming up here in just a few more days. So stay with us. Look for the notices on that. And until then, have a great day.